welcome to another edition of The Other Perspective. Today we are going to be discussing about politics or policy, what informed the parish development model in Uganda. First of all, today is a public holiday in Uganda where we are celebrating the life of Janan Luum, who was with the Catholic Archbishop of Church of Uganda from 1974 to 1977 and one of the most influential leaders of the modern church in Africa. He was arrested in February 1977 and died shortly after, although the official accounts describe his death to a car crash. It's generally accepted that he was murdered on the orders of the then President Idi Amin Dada. So back to our main discussion today on policy or politics, what informed the parish development model. We do know that on the 26th February 2022, President Yoweri Museveni will launch the parish development model at Chimbuku district. This will pave way for the injection of over 180 billion shillings into the 10,595 parishes of Uganda. It is our understanding that this intervention will eradicate poverty from households. The parish development model is the most recent vehicle government plans to use for accelerating wealth and job creation and improving service delivery at the parish level. Its objective is to take government to the people so that the incomes of the ordinary Ugandans can improve. If incomes improve, automatically people's livelihood will be better. The parish development model will be implemented over a period of 5 years. The parish development model is anchored on 7 pillars, the first being production, storage, processing, and marketing. Then the second is on infrastructure and economic services. The third is on financial inclusion. The fourth is on social services. Fifth comes community mobilization and mindset change. Then we also have the sixth being data collection in terms of parish-based management and information systems. And then we have the seventh being governance and administration. The parish development model is not the first poverty eradication program that a national resistance movement government will be launching. There are a number of other initiatives that have been delivered before at national level, which include the Ntandikwa Prosperity for All Youth Livelihood Program, Uganda Women Empowerment Program, Operation Wealth Creation, and Emioga. So today we shall be joined by a panel of 3 distinguished guests. We have Mr. Henry Muguzi, who is an expert in the field of electoral democracy and also a passionate Ugandan who wants to see that the lives of Ugandans are really improved and not just we don't use politics, politicize everything. Welcome, Henry.
Thank you, Abel, and to our viewers, wherever you are joining us from, it's a pleasure to be interacting with you today. And let's try to see whether we can chat a better way forward for our country and Africa in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. We shall also be joined by Priska Wanyenya, who is a journalist who reports from Parliament, and she's also a passionate Ugandan who wants to see that the lives of Ugandans are improved, and she's an activist who also fights for social justice and economic rights. Welcome, Priska.
Thank you, Abel. Good morning to our viewers and listeners. I'm glad to join you today again to still learn from you. I look forward to the day.
You're welcome, Priska. And then lastly, we shall have a youthful Mr. Gerald Koraneza, who is a youth activist in politics and also is passionate about issues concerning poverty eradication. I do remember he told me that he wrote even a thesis on issues concerning poverty eradication. So I know you will be sharing with us some of the things he wrote on, especially on operations wealth creation during his undergraduate time at campus. So I will start straight away with Mr. Henry. The Parish Development Model will be launched on the 26th of February 2022 at Chibuku District. What do you think informed the Parish Development Model? Was it based on policy or was it based on politics?
Yeah, thank you very much, Abel. And once again, greetings to all of us that are, all our viewers and listeners who are joining us from wherever they are. The Parish Development Model, for those of you that are hearing about this word for the first time, is a strategy government of Uganda has coined for organizing and delivering public and private sector interventions for wealth creation. You remember, for a long time, we've been grappling with the wealth creation. And of course, the desire of government has always been to take Uganda to middle income status. And so the Parish Development Model is marketed as this intervention that's going to create wealth, but also generate employment for the young people at the parish level. And the parish is being considered as the lowest economic planning unit. Now, when you review the National Development Plan, I think the National Development Plan 3, it has also adopted the Parish Development Model as a strategy for rural social.
I think we have lost Henry, and I want now to bring on Priska. Priska, you report from Parliament and you've seen that this Parish Development Model will be launched on the 26th, and you've seen there have been issues concerning whether this model will succeed or not. Was on what Henry was submitting? Can you supplement on whether was this Parish Development Model thought informed by policy, or it's also another political thing that is being fronted?
Okay, thanks, Abel. So when this parish development model was brought, I think last year, the argument, and it was drawn up by the current secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi, when he was still at MOVS. He sold the idea to the president. I think they bought it. So some people think that it's probably one of the reasons as to why that the president made his eye that he got to have the job. So according to government, when there is a time we met with Ramadan Gobi at Africana as journalists to cover Parliament, and he told us that the reason as to why they came up with the parish government model is that for a long time resources have been centered around the central government and leaving very little resources to the local government. And the argument was people in the central government sit in the ministries in Kampala and plan for someone probably in Chanamkaka, a parish, and they have no idea of what the needs are for the people in. I'm giving an example of Chanamkaka or any other rural place. So to them, they think that if the parish development model is brought, the people at the parishes will be in position to come up with a decision and priorities of what their districts want or their parish wants. Is it a school? Is it a health center? Not this argument of the central government planning and imposing their priorities on them. So that was the essence about the parish development model. Yesterday, during the plenary sitting, the Minister of Local Government, Raphael Magezi, formally tabled a statement as per the rules of Parliament and informing them about the impending launch in Chibuku district. And he gave Parliament a briefing on how far government has gone with the implementation of parish development model. And from what I read from his statement, You say they are in the process of now recruiting the 53, 500 and 5,000 and 3,000 parish chiefs who are going to oversee the parish development model. And the parish development model has been something that has been discussed in Parliament with both by the opposition and the civil society group. And one of the contentious issues at the moment is last year they had planned to merge all the wealth creation programs into one, the youth livelihood, UWEP and everything. But usually the women fought so hard because they say that their UWEP is doing well, so the government had to abandon. But when you see the National Budget Framework paper, they have come up with that plan again to merge the resources of UWEP, NADS, UCDA, the Coffee Development Authority, Luwero and Renzori Triangle. All the resources are going. They are planning to combine them to put them in the parish development model. And I still expect a fight from the women when it comes to their UWEP, and not coming off as someone who is a woman, but I tend to think that when you look at the wealth creation programs that have come up, the UWEP is doing quite well. And when I looked at the Auditor General's report that she unveiled, I think last month or this month, he noted that so far within the 5 years, UWEP has been in position to disperse about 107 billion, and right now the women have been in position to pay back money, and 16 billion shillings is sitting on the Bank of Uganda account that has not been yet dispersed. So and she has not yet been dispersed for other women to benefit. But this is the money that the other women did what? Paid back after they got. It's the revolving fund. So I expect there is going to be a fight, especially merging UWEP with the parish development model. And so when you look at some of the people who are doubting the efficacy of the parish development model, because they look at creating revolving funds and part of the initiatives. And when you look, so when the Auditor General already points out that there are some wealth creation programs that are ongoing, people have already paid back money, but government is yet to disperse the money to other people. So it gives you a glimpse of some of the challenges that the parish development model is going to face. We have to give them time, because it is going to be one of the biggest tests for the Secretary of the Treasury, because he is the father of the parish development model, and now he is in charge to implement it. So we will really have no excuse when probably the program fails in future, because you brought it and now you have been brought to implement it. So I look forward to how this whole program is going to work up. But that is basically the policy around the parish development model. And one of the contentious issues that were raised is the money that community mobilization and mindset change, because they have allocated about 64 billion shillings that government is going to go out there and tell the community that we are going to bring you this money, but it's not for eating. Like, so they want to use this 64 billion to ensure that they don't repeat the mistakes they made with probably the youth livelihood, where we saw stories where the youth got the money and went to marry the second wife or things like that. So they want to use this 64 billion, the coming financial year, to sensitize Ugandans that when this money comes, please don't marry a second wife, don't buy a mattress, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Priska. Henry, before, I think you had network issues when you were still submitting, so I wanted to give us your opinion on what you are still giving us, and then I would proceed with that.
Absolutely, Abel. Of course, at the time I went off because of the funny technology we have here and very unreliable internet that the country is getting, I was trying to paint a picture of what the parish development model is to that listener or viewer that is interacting with this for the very first time. But I'm sure that Priska has done justice to it, and therefore I'm not going to go back there. But to the question of whether it was informed by politics or policy, we know very well that the first pronouncement of the parish development model was done when the president was on his campaign trail. And therefore, like many others, it has not been backed by policy. And when we say policy, I think it's important we explain. Normally, in management of state affairs, national affairs, when a government realizes a problem, they will have to understand what the problem is. In other words, they will do what you can call a diagnosis. A diagnosis, in which case they send out a team of experts to go to the grassroots and understand what the problem is. Because you might think the problem, you might think the patient is feeling feverish and has temperature, and think the patient has malaria, only to discover that it is actually not malaria. It is actually infections. And therefore, then the dosage you are going to administer will be changed. Instead of Coartem, you're going to have to give penicillin. So the same here in understanding societal problems. Government sends a team to understand what the problem is, what is its causes, because sometimes what you might think is the problem may not actually be the problem. The problem, what we could be seeing as a problem, could just be a symptom. So government would ordinarily send a team to carry out what they call policy analysis, and there's a whole process, due process, that has to be followed. That also requires participation of those that are affected, but also those that have a say or have seen it before. And therefore, when this has been done, then the government will develop something they call a policy of government. So the policy has analyzed the problem, prescribed the medicine, but also the analysis to the problem has been informed by a number of stakeholders. Now, after the policy is in place, then you can go ahead and draft a law to operationalize what is happening now. With operational wealth creation, we have a law that is operationalizing it, but we do not have a policy that informs whether or not we are actually addressing the problem. Okay? You see, a good law has to be informed by a policy. But for the longest time, all the interventions of government we have had have been informed by politics. Whether it was the universal primary education, whether it was the Bonaba Gagawale, whether it was Youth Livelihood Fund, whether it was Ntandikwa, all of these start as political pronouncements, and then the technocracy is put to task to develop laws that would operationalize these political interventions. Which is why you will not be surprised to find that many of them have not worked. And the reason they have not worked is that there's not been enough time to understand what the problem is. So we have prescribed medicine for malaria when the patient is actually suffering from infections. No wonder we up to today, we are still talking about getting people out of poverty, but there have been a plethora of interventions. And therefore, I want to argue that the parish development model, for us, even when they have anchored it into the National Development Plan 3 as a strategy for rural and economic transformation, without a policy that informs it, it cannot be fully implemented. It will not be able to address the real problem on the ground. And as we get to interrogate it further, we are going to see that some of the deficits, some of the negativities we are already seeing could be a creature of there not being a policy. And therefore, as I return this back to you, Abel, I want to argue that the parish development model is a very good strategy. But this strategy, because it has not been informed by policy, it might suffer from failure to understand the real problem on the ground. Because is the problem on the ground lack of money? Is the problem on the ground mindset? Is the problem on the ground lack of mobilization? Is the problem on the ground lack of awareness? What is the problem on the ground that they're trying to address? Because for the longest time, every time this government has seen a problem on the ground, we have seen them throw money to the problem. So they have over time developed a tendency of just throwing money at problems. But you see, when you just throw money at problems, even a hungry dog, if you just throw meat to eat without it being made ready, it might just run before not thinking it is a stone. So I think we needed to have a policy in place that has taken enough time to analyze the problem. Where is the problem? Why is it that many of the people of Uganda are not in the market 36 years down the road? Is it that they don't want to be in the market? Or is it that there is something else stopping them from being in the market? Is that something stopping them from being in the market in money? Or there are other factors? Are they social? Are they economic? Are they religious? Are they cultural? So I think we needed to take off time to understand the real problem on the ground before we diagnose the medicine as a parish development model. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Henry. Gerald, I've just heard Henry giving his submission, and he's more of a view that the parish development model was informed more by politics than policy. So, and you have ever done a research on issues concerning poverty eradication in Uganda, and I want to know from you, when it comes to intervention such of this or poverty eradication of this nature, do you think this government has learned anything and forgotten anything before? You're muted.
Thank you so much, Abel, for that very great question. And I want to say that there is nothing that is apolitical in the public policy. I mean, there is always a primacy of politics in every other public policy. I would agree with Henry to some extent that there is a lot of politicization, of course, in the parish development model to some extent. But as you've put it, as a person who has done at undergraduate, one of a poverty eradication program, that is Operation Wealth Creation, we could see agricultural inputs being procured at the national level, and you find they are taking inputs to people at the grassroots level. So we didn't see the element of participation or giving people their say or looking at what's the need that they do want, rather than we could see government imposing like inputs to the people. Back to your question that you asked, whether parish development model was informed by either politics or policy. Parish development model, through their framework, which they showed to us, their guiding implementation, they say that it was informed by National Development Plan 1 and 2, where they saw a need of bringing services closer to the people. They argue that they want to bring government to the people, where the people, they will at least have the say when it comes to democratic control on decision making on their welfare. So in my own opinion, I think the government has learned something from the previous programs, like for instance, Operation Welfare Creation. When I see government budgeting, allocating like 180 billion, that is going to 10,595 village parishes, where at least each parish is expected to get 17 million. You know, at the parish level, there is that committee, the Parish Development Committee, that is being chaired, I think, by the parish chief. It is comprised of, I think, 9 members, where the LC3 chairperson is the lead person. He is also playing a critical role. Then there is also elements of the civil society actors. Then representation of LCs, the LC1. I think the mobilization effort or earmarking like this 64 million, 64 billion for mobilization and changing the mindset. Now the government needs to do a lot to sensitize the people, the population, on the planning matters, how they should utilize this fund, how they should be able to utilize this fund to improve the incomes and the welfare of the citizens. So in my own opinion, government taking the planning, the decision making, the participation to the lowest administrative unit. It is a very good move. But what we need a very good political will. We need to see political will. We need to see government full supporting, rather than leaving now everything to these hungry lower administrative units. There is a problem that is emanating. Now the parish development committees, some of them, they are too excited. They are saying that it is the national level that has been eating. Now it is their turn to eat. So the government needs to assure the people the commitment. It needs to give the commitment. It gives a political will to ensure people's participation, mobilization strategies, education, all of those activities that, mobilizing the youth, all those kinds of elements that they give information to the wananchi on the ground to fully participate, to see whether we can yield in, like this very success, these income and welfare, transforming people from subsistence to monetary economy. So we need a full political will from the government. That is my take.
Thank you, Gerald. Henry, I will now bring you. We do know that back in the day, there was the Poverty Eradication Action Plan. It was implemented for over 10 years, but poverty remained elusive. What did PIP get wrong that the parish development model will get right? Do you think will get right?
Thank you, Abel. And because that's quite an interesting question. I've been reviewing some documents here, and I discovered that actually the Local Government Act provides for the parish as a planning unit of government, and Section 47 of the Act provides an 11-member parish executive committee. Now, so you get to see that, okay, in the laws, it's anchored Okay, but again, the policy framework, the overarching policy framework guiding it, other than the national development plan, because the national development plan is a what's it called? An amalgam of a number of interventions. The PDM model, Parish development model, needed its own policy. But back to your question, we had the poverty eradication action plan. I think it was flagged at a time as one of the major documents that ever came out of a third world country. I remember the World Bank and IMF, were flagging this as a model that other countries could copy. But 10 years down the road, poverty remained elusive, as you have stated. The question is, what did we get wrong? My take is that perhaps the people did not understand the root causes of poverty at the time. And therefore, they tended to prescribe a medicine that could not address the type of the bug or bacteria that Ugandans were suffering from, which is why you see that 10 years afterwards, an evaluation is conducted and the questions are still being asked. What has changed? As a matter of fact, nothing changed then. So, but I hope there were certain lessons that were picked, which should inform the parish development model. Now, one of the things that I think that undermined and militated against the success of PIP was that the people had not been prepared. There was a mindset problem. People still believed. First of all, people had not been helped to liberate themselves and graduate from the days of running around to the days of moving forward. But the one thing that the people did was to inculcate a feeling that if you work hard, you can improve your income. So fast forward today, we are seeing that quite the number of Ugandans that are in the market has increased, although not to the level that we want. So those are some of the lessons I think that the PDM model should borrow, that before you roll out anything, it's important you first work on the mindsets, because poverty begins in one's head. There is no amount of money you can throw around that can eradicate poverty. But I think the other thing that militated against the success of PIP was corruption. And therefore, it's a lesson we carry forward. How do we make sure, like Gerard said, those who are saying it is our time to eat, that national level has been eating for 36 years. Now parish level must now also eat. This is their time to eat. I think that is going to be the problem, the biggest bottleneck that this intervention is going to face. But overall, I think I should also send my plaudits to government for having finally targeted the parish, because that is where the rubber touches the ground. The question is, what monitoring mechanism is going to be there? I was looking at how the model is going to run, where they're proposing that there will be parish chiefs and LC2 chairpersons. Okay, so this LC2 chairperson, at the time of electing them into office, I think about 4 years back, we did not know that they will have a role to play in the parish development model. And therefore, the people we elected into office may not necessarily have the skills that will gel with those of the parish chief in order to propel this intervention forward. I would also see that quite a number of the people we elected into office at the time spent a lot of money. Never mind that the level was low, but LC1s and LC2s spent a lot of money to be elected into those offices, and they have never recouped that money. I can already sense a feeling that these men and women who are occupying these LC2 offices as chairpersons are already, whetting their, appetites to make sure that finally the avenue to recoup them on their investment has come. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you. We are going to go for a brief break, then we shall return.
Honorable, we are so glad. Thank you so much.
Are you okay?
We are really fine. Actually, you served us.
Thank you for
I've
voting.
been hearing.
Thank you so much. You've really done a great job.
Please give me more chance, okay?
You've just served us.
Oh, I guessed right.
Who were you?
Fine.
A long time.
Yes, it should be a long time. Honorable. I guessed right. Oh, yes, Honorable. These trust funds?
Yes, I need a loan of 50 million shillings. Just help me find a reasonable money lender.
10 million shillings? Right now?
Yes.
That's crazy.
No, it is just strategic.
How strategic is that? Honorable, how's that strategic?
I'm responding to people's needs and gaining political capital.
Sorry. Why don't you let the government do their job? Eh? What will you do about the health sector? How about education? How about water? Eh? This is not sustainable, my friend. This cannot be sustainable.
You expect our parliament to respond to people's problems?
Then fix it. Then fix the parliament. Do your job.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
Indeed, I am disappointed.
My political survival comes first. This is an opportunity for me to be seen working.
This is the quality of most of our MPs. Oh God, help our country.
Fellow citizens, now that election season is over, it's time for elected leaders to perform their statutory roles, such as policy making, oversight, and accountability.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate.
Welcome back from that brief break. Today we are trying to interrogate whether the Parish development model, which will be launched on the 26th of February 2022 by President Museveni, was informed by politics or policy. Before we went for that break, Henry, Gerald, and Priska, all of you hinted on the issue of mindset change, and I think you all are agreeing that mindset change should first be the first thing they should tackle on before anything can be rolled on. And there's when President Museveni was addressing people during the celebration of Taresita, he said, and I will quote him verbatimly, that poverty is just because of ignorance. With mindset change, we shall be able to banish poverty from homes. I want to bring you, Priska. In your view, has government done enough to change people's mindsets as a precursor to the successful rolling out of the parish development model?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Abel. When Henry was making his submissions, he asked how the parish development model is going to be supervised and implemented. And of course, Gerard also hinted of this attitude of it's our time to eat. But that was part of the fears that was raised by people when the parish development model had just been brought to parliament, and the argument of government is that since they have failed to deal with poverty at the central level, so at the parish level they know that it's a smaller unit, so they know that if Henry is, say, the parish chief of Makerere and he swindles money, the people within Makerere know him. I'm not sure. Is this Lumumba? I think Lumumba is around Makerere still. So it will be easier to hold Henry accountable as opposed to the accountability trickling down from the central government too. So that is if you're wondering what their argument is, that it's going to be easier for the people to hold you accountable in case you swindle or misappropriate money. That is the argument they brought about. And the mindset change has been looking at even the 64 billion that I've set aside, because 64 is for one single financial year, and I don't know how they are going to deal with the attitude of, you have stolen for 36 and now it is our time to eat. It's something I'm also looking forward to seeing how they are going to address it. But of course, the sentiments have been shared by both the opposition and the civil society, because the shadow minister for finance, that is Mwanga Chivumbi, when he was making his submission about responding to the budget framework paper, the parish government model is one of the things that he hinted on, and he said that he threw doubts on how it is going to be implemented, because first of all, the parish government model remains as unfunded priority in the coming budget. It's unfunded. You see that. So the only money that has been availed so far is the community mindset change, and Chivumbi argued that the many activities in the parish government model have been duplicated, because now what we are seeing is each ministry, each entity is now asking money for the parish development model. You remember, like the case when COVID came, each ministry and each entity came up with a budget of COVID, fighting COVID. Now it is, you remember even the Ministry of Ethics and Integrity also asked for a budget for COVID. So now that is now the trend. Now, even before the program kicks off, now here at the central government, people also want shares, because now we know that the mindset change is going to be championed by the Ministry of ICT. And for them, they were asking for 15 billion shillings for mindset change. And I don't know whether the 15 billion is into the 64. I'm not so sure, but they've asked for that. So now, even at the central government, even before the implementation, everyone is asking for the share, right from the central government before the money trickles down. Now the ministry is they're all asking for. And that is what Chivumbi talked about, that they are duplicating activities, because now each ministry is going to ask for mindset change. They will say that we are the ones in charge of mindset change. And they also say that there is poor planning and weak alignment of the program. And when you look at, and the opposition thinks that instead of us creating new administrative units, because we should align all our planning to the parish level instead of creating new administrative units, because now that will mean bloating our already expanded government. Because when the two panelists were discussing, they hinted on the failure by government to define what has brought about poverty in Uganda. And we know that one of the things that has kept the people in poverty is because of the cost of administration in government. The government is so big. We are talking about over 81 ministers, and so the mere fact that government has failed to admit that the government is too huge for the taxpayers that's why people are doubting whether the parish development model is going to work in the first place. And when you look at the civil society actually, David Mukunda, when he appeared before Parliament, he told them that government is not ready to implement the parish development model. And Makio Mukunda is one of the people who is supporting the parish development model because he thinks it's going to be a game changer. But he asked Parliament to hold the full implementation across the country and have it pioneered in 2 districts. Their argument is, let's implement it in 2 districts, see how it is going to work. If it is successful, then we can roll it out. But after that, in some other function, the Ministry of Finance rejected their proposal. But I thought, given the experience we've had with other wealth creation programs, I think the civil society proposal was right. Let's roll it, for instance, in 1 district or 2. But now there is going to be, now the tribal settlements. People will ask now which districts will they roll into. So that is, but I tend to think, but the rolling out to the whole country will be a very risky venture. We can probably pilot it in 1 district or probably even 1 parish, and we see how it works before we roll it fully to the whole country.
Okay, Gerald, we have some of the comments coming from the viewers outside there. One of them is from Lino, who says that how are we going to address the number of people in parishes vis-a-vis the amount being given to each parish? And also Felix Vianney says the problem of this most of the wealth creation programs are faced are true. That is mindset of Ugandan, that government resources are always freebies to be eaten, and also politics and its cousin, that which is corruption. So I want to bring now Gerald on board. We know that over 180 billion Uganda shillings will start flowing into these parishes. How ready are the people in the parishes and by extension the villages to receive this money? You've just heard someone is talking of the number of parishes vis-a-vis the number of people in parishes vis-a-vis the amount being given, which is 17 million per parish. Has government considered the number of people in those parishes? Because now they have lumped and thought that every parish has the same number, so we should give them the same amount of money. How ready are people in those parishes?
Abel, true, I don't know the mathematical formula which the government has really come up with to allocate 17 million to every parish. Because a parish, you find averagely, a parish has gotten like 5 to 10 villages, and they are telling the people to form circles, associations and whatnot. I believe the government would have done better by allocating at least more resources if they are really willing to take back government to the people, so that people they can improve. If they're willing to improve their welfare, then we wouldn't see like such chunk of budget going to security, those things of classified budget which are going to State House. So I think 17 million is a cartoon money to improve the welfare of the people. The Ugandans, like the youth, we see we have 76%, I think, by the statistics from UBOS. They are unemployed, and we have got also some other special interest groups, like for instance, the elderly, the women, the persons with disabilities. All those people, they are looking at this very money. So I think, I don't know how the government has planned for that money, because 17 million really, it's little money. I see lots of fights fighting coming up. On that very case, I don't know whether the government saw this kind of unintended consequences. Of course, when Henry said that when you're addressing like such kind of policies, you to go on the ground to the unintended consequences. Or I don't know whether the government has put in consideration like such kind of thing, but what we're going to see inequality coming up. Of course, Felix has put it categorically clear. Corruption, corruption is one of the elements that has eaten up all the government programs. As you can see at the parish development, these parish development committees, there must be an LC3, LC2, I think LC2 chairperson of the NRM. So I would wonder why would do like such kind of a program bring on board a chairperson of a political party, a political organization. Then you are biasing, you are politicizing it. Well, as a political scientist, of course, I believe there is no such thing that you bring that is a political, like such kind of thing. Of course, operation wealth creation. You need to show the people that the NRM government is working for the people. But then you should limit your involvement. Why would you bring someone on an NRM, like two chairperson of NRM, to be part of that committee? Now, how will you think the person of FDC, the person of UPC, the person of DPR, will they be able to get that money? So corruption, I see it emanating from the Parish Development Committee. So we need to do a lot to save the situation. I thank you.
Henry, there is a school of thought that the parish development model is another political tool meant to entrench the regime. What is your opinion on such a narrative or school of thought?
Thank you, Abel. But let me thank Priska for raising something quite important when she said that already there is infighting between the ministries. The Ministry of ICT saying, oh, the mindset change befalls in our purview. Now, I remember correctly that these infightings have been in place. Of recent, you remember the cities. The cities when the cities were granted, it was the Minister of Local Government that was going around announcing the cities. But no sooner had the cities been granted, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development popped and said, oh, look, these cities are not under your purview, Minister of Local Government, because our title is Land, Housing and Urban Development. So if these are urban structures, then they are in our docket. And then infighting pursued. But also remember, these fights have been in place. They undermined the local government system. The Minister of Health refused to develop powers. These infightings have been there, and you saw me smiling because I remembered what our brothers in Nigeria say, that if you are a lizard on Monday, a lizard on Tuesday, a lizard on Wednesday, you cannot be a crocodile on Thursday. You remain a lizard throughout. So they say na lizardi, na lizardo. So if this is how they have been managing, and the programs failing, and it is politics informing them, and the infightings and the corruption, what do we expect? That this time around the Holy Spirit has descended and things have happened? Number two, on the grassroots level, when our people receive anything like money from the central government, they say Mzee Yagabud, Mzee has given us. They eat it. And here we are saying, we are reading from the literature that there will be some sort of a revolving fund. Revolving where? What happened to the Youth Livelihood Fund? Recently, there was a kind of a story on NTV, and it was evaluating the effect, the impact of the Youth Livelihood Fund. What we saw was that many of the groups had disbanded. The projects that had started had been abandoned, and the thing had collapsed and fallen to the ground, fallen flat. What lessons are we carrying forward? So these are some of the things that we're looking at, Abel, as you ask that question, and cannot help but ask yourself, who is going to coordinate these ministries? Because everybody wants power. Who is going to coordinate these ministries, and whose interest is the parish development model serving? Is it intended to serve the very interests of the citizenry? Is this a model that is intended to enhance the incomes of people, so that the people can be liberated from depending on government, so that they can stand on their two legs and make decisions, so that come election time they will say, no. Now we've been empowered, we are able to see things, we think you are not good enough. Whose interest is this program supposed to serve? And like you said, it is too early to roll it out, because I was reading somewhere, the committee that must be in place, the management structure that is needed to manage these, the LOC, the preparing of the LOC2 chairperson, and the preparing of the parish development chief. Never mind that in many parishes now they have recruited people, and I can bet you none of those people that have been recruited has ever managed a program of this nature. And therefore, so are we not putting a cart before the horse? Do we see success? Now, you understand that the model itself is an unfunded priority. Are you kidding me? So you get to see that at the end of the day, ultimately, and I can see time running out, all of these are maneuvers of regime survival. We know. And therefore, until the regime, because we don't think that the regime can do anything that is in the interest of, can put the interest of the people before the interest of the regime. Because if you're a lizard on a Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, you cannot be a crocodile on Friday. So I think it has been rushed. And the reason it is right, they are rushing it, is because we are now into the second year of election. In 3 years' time or 2 years' time, you're going to start politicking again, and they must be seen to have done something. But the truth is, the intervention is a good model. If we can remove partisan politics and the politics of patronage and regime survival from this intervention, and make sure that the ministries are well coordinated, that the heads of ministries that are fighting get their wings clipped for the interest of the benefit of the society, of the bigger country, citizenry, then this will succeed. Back to you, Abel. And I think that will be my parting shot as well. Are you muted, Abel?
We are running out of time, and I want all of us to respond to the statement which President Museveni made during his during the celebration at Taresita, where he said he will be launching a war on poverty, which will defeat poverty at the household level. Do you all think the war on poverty in Uganda is winnable by this government? As your parting shots, I will start with you, Priska.
Okay. Thanks, Abel. Of course, he has, as a general who is used to making threats, this is not the first time he is declaring war on poverty and corruption, and we have seen the trend. As I share the same sentiments with Henry, that the parish development model, if implemented very well, is a good initiative. But we all agree we are not ready. So I tend to think that the ghosts hovering around corruption and the excess expenditure within the central government will find their way back to the parish model. And that the parish development model can only succeed if those two enemies of progress, as the president says, poverty, of corruption, and the nugatory expenditures in the central government are dealt with. There is no chance that the parish development model will be any different from the other poverty programs.
Abel, you are muted.
Gerald, do you think this war that is being launched against poverty is winnable? Gerald, are you on? I think Henry, you can go on, and because I think Gerald is not getting very well.
You are right. I think he went to sleep. So the war on poverty is obviously winnable because countries have won it. The Western countries were poor at one time; they have won it. We can win it for as long as we overcome the fear of what will become of the citizenry after they have overcome poverty. Because a citizenry that is economically sustainable and economically strong cannot be hoodwinked with the freebies and giveaways during elections. A society whose economics has been, whose incomes are good will start using their brain. They will start thinking. So it is much difficult to bamboozle politically a society that is economically aware and economically able. And therefore, for as long as we don't have a fear of getting into the opposition as NRM, then we can roll it out. But for as long as we want to continue entrenching the regime survival enterprise, I think we have to think twice. I thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Gerald, your parting shot?
Abel, thank you so much for hosting me. It's not the first time that the government is going back actually to the people. For the last 36 years, the government has been operating at the top. Since pre-independence and the post-independence, the government has been at the lowest administrative unit. So it's a very good move that the government has taken, taking back the government to the people so that they can be able to participate, have a democratic control on the decision making of their welfare. Parish development model, as they say that they will be running, as they are operationalizing it. I would want to see a good political will as we address the income inequality and the welfare of the citizenry. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Henry, Priska, and Gerald, for your views. It has been a great show, and it's a pleasure having all those people who have been following us and sending in their comments and feedbacks. Thank you for participating. We have come to the tail end of the show, and I want us to all appreciate that the Parish Development Model on paper is a good program, but we hope that it will be removed from the paper and really being implemented very well so that we can really move away from the subsistence economy to a monetary economy, where most households will now have some wealth and money or income which they can use as they continue to improve on their socio-economic welfare or transformation. I am Abel Eseru. Let's continue engaging on our social media platforms. That is on Facebook, it's ACFIM. On YouTube, it's ACFIM Uganda. And on Twitter, it's ACFIM UG. Let's meet again next week, same time, same day. Bye. It's like every